Hello everyone, I'm back. Just checking out them noises, you know. Places like this, it's, you know, you gotta get used to the noises around you, the surroundings around you, you know. It's all each other. Can he see if you're not gonna fall on us? Aye. And if someone stumbles across us, I think it'll be alright. What is that? There we go. Aye, so where was I? Getting out. Talking about some of the emotional stuff that I've not been dealing with, and it's starting to affect my life in a negative way. You know what I'm talking about, it's just that nagging shit that you know what you're supposed to do, but then I've got this thing about my quality of life, you see, and my quality of life has an effect on my mental health, you see, so it's important that my quality of life is at a certain standard and that I maintain that. Because then I start to feel insecure, more secure about myself, you see. Because living outside and that is different. It's totally different from being in prison. You can imagine. Well, look at the lockdown. The lockdown. I liked the lockdown, right? Because I was like laughing to myself, thinking, everybody will understand a little bit about what it's like being in prison. You know, where certain freedoms taken away from you. So you know when you hear about people in prison and it's like a hotel and all that. It's not, it's a really harsh environment. Really harsh. No. Takes a long time to feel comfortable in prison. Doesn't care what anybody says, it takes a long time to feel comfortable in prison. You have to emotionally adjust and get used to all the hardships that you're going through from the day you walk through the door. It's as simple as that. Right? They go with TV. TVs. I remember when the prison, when they first come into the prison, the TVs, there was a lot of problems with them TVs. Oh, aye. Well, I was quite lucky because I went down, I spent 2 years on remand and convicted in Durham, right? And then I went down to Wormwood Scrubs and I was given a TV, right? And that was it must have been about 96. I landed in Wormwood Scrubs and I got my TV. And up until then, I'd been doing my jail in a really negative way, right? Because it forces you to have, because when you to deal with the boredom and stuff and that, it forces you to talk to the people around you to help you deal with the boredom, you know. And because I couldn't read, you know, when I was in Durham, I just stared at the walls and listened to the radio all the time, you know, and it done me heed in. So I relied on my relationships with people around us to help support us, and we support each other, you know. And when you're like that, you know, you're spending too much time together, you talk about all kinds of bloody crap, and it's all justifying stuff because we've all got these bad attitudes and we're all criminalised, and we talk to each other, and the more we interact with each other, the more we negatively reinforce our criminal beliefs, and it just kind of sounds on and on and on and on, a vicious circle. Right? There was a lot more violence in the jail, a lot more, because of prisoners. It really affected prisoners, the mood of the prisoners, you see. When they haven't got a TV, it really does. You know, they're dealing with depression, they're dealing with heavy depression all the time. Like I was. Till I learn how to start like taking my mind off things in my cell and learn how to occupy my mind in my damper, which was hard with just the radio. But that's what it's like, and then they get with the TVs, that's it. I got a TV, and that's all to like put my heat a little bit outside, and just enough to comfort us a little, so I could start dealing with my feelings, instead of just dealing with a harsh environment constantly. Crazy. And the Scrows, did they fuck? They did not want to give a TV out. No. At first in Durham, right? You had to get padded up with a sex offender to get a TV. And they come up with this great scheme that what we'll do is we'll do away with protection for vulnerable prisoners, and we'll manipulate the other prisoners into accepting them using this TV. Well, that was not the purpose of bringing in TVs for prisoners. You know? Well, it didn't last for very long, you know? It didn't last for very long, no. It ended up where all the sex offenders had TVs, and all us lot, I wasn't there at the time, mind you, all the lads had an out. Still running the radios off PP9s. It was disgraceful. You know, harsh environment like that as well. Try to manipulate your debates into compromising your principles to forcing you to have a relationship with a sex offender, right? In a harsh environment, that you're already dealing in a harsh environment. I mean, what was that all about? I have mixed feelings about the prison system, right? Because I have gotten help from the prison system, and I've managed to get my head in a really good place, you know? But there's so much wrong. So that was one story of the TVs, right? Then we got, so I'm in Scrubs for 3 years, right? You didn't have to be enhanced, because that's the rule by the Home Office and the governors, right? That you didn't have to be enhanced, right, to have a TV. On standard regime, by European law, you're allowed a TV, right? And they take notice of that in Durham. So I'm in Wormwood Scrubs, I've got my TV on standard regime. I'm happy as Larry. I'm getting into bits and pieces and whatnot, but I'm all right. I'm not committing any violence. It's not even coming close to any of that. But, you know, people like me, they act out. So I gets myself to Parkhurst, and you're not allowed a TV, right? But they're going to hand out TVs soon. They're going to hand out all the TVs, but they're only going to hand them out to enhanced prisoners, so you've got to be in enhanced prisoner. So, me just settling into that new jail and all that, I got a couple of nickings, was doing the block a couple of times for using drugs. It was a mad out place. So I was on the standard wing for 6 months. Took us 6 months to get me enhanced. Normally only takes 3 months. But what people like me, it's normally 6, 9, 12, and got into 18 months and all that or some. You know, because they just can't behave themselves. They just can't. So I gets on the enhanced wing. Need TVs. So all the lads are all stressed and all that, waiting for TVs to come. And it was fun. Well, it wasn't funny when we were there, but there's no. In the screws, what had happened is, right, it took us another 3-4 months or something to get our TVs, you know, but this is, when this law come in, it had been about 5 years, you know. when the Home Office and all the governors and all the jails said it can have the TVs, this was 5 years, you know. So the screws had been refusing to hand out the fucking TVs. That's what it was. The screws physically wouldn't hand out the TVs. So the governors themselves had to all come in and give out the TVs to the inmates in Parkhurst prison. And that's how the inmates in Parkhurst prison got their TVs, because the governors, the screws, would not give them the TVs. And in Durham, to this day, they still take the remote control off you, so they can be a pain in the arse and make you get off your bed and switch your telly over. They light that head fuck, they take that remote off you. And do you know what they say? They know how they justify it. They say it looks like a mobile phone, so if we look through the flap and we see the remote, we think it's a mobile phone, so we've got to go and get a key and burst through the door. And that's the thing with prison, you see. Every single decision is dominated by security. And that keeps the outside world from getting in. And it keeps everything from in the inside world from getting out. And as for change, prisoners hate change. They really do. They hate change. They get into a good regime in the jail, and if they start trying to change a regime, right, the prisoners hate it. However, the screws hate it even more. They hate change in the jail as well. So any kind of reform and stuff like that, they don't believe in it because they've seen so much shite come through, but they've never ever given their back into it from day one, you know. And I'm not saying all prison officers are like that, and I'm not saying all governors are like that, you know, but the prison system is, and that's got to be made clear. Aye, but screws are screws, and that's all they're trained to do. They're not trained to be able to understand what you're talking about when you're talking about your psychological problems. No. They're trained to bend you up soon as they see any sign of aggression or upset, they're there to challenge you, bend you up, and deal with you that way. It's all they're trained to do, and lock you behind your door. And like some of the people that I've met in prison, you know, and I know how I've suffered with my mental health and all that, right? But there's been a lot more people in a lot more worse situation than me. Not just physically with what the crimes that they've committed and how much prison that they've got ahead of them, but also on a mental health level as well. And it just gets ignored. It just gets ignored. Aye. But that's me thoughts on that for now. I'm sure I've got loads more things to say about that. But I've also got loads of positive stories to say about that as well. Because there is a faction of the prison service that's trying to fight against that. You could call them the good guys. Or good lassies. Aye. Well, I've been thinking about judgment and how I make my judgments and how I experienced that kind of behaviour, judgment in your life. How you feel you're judged by other people, right? And how you judge other people. That can play a big part in your life, you know, that can take a bit of heat space, you know, that stuff. If you've got any emotional resolve or real good moral direction, that can keep you trapped in bad behaviours just based on your judgments and how you use judgment as part of your psyche. Because we all use judgment as part of our psyche, you see. It's part of who we are as human beings. But it's how we use it, right? And we never talk about it and we never think about it. We're just going on an impulse with it all the time. And when we get good results off the judgments that we make, we carry on making them judgments without really thinking, what the hell's going on there? You know what I'm saying?